Coverage of the indictments out of Georgia, former President Donald Trump, as well as 18 others. Today, the big name Rudy Giuliani landed in Atlanta, specifically at DeKalb Airport, and we are still waiting for his surrender and the details to come out of that. But as you saw just there, our political reporter Doug Reardon, who I'm pulling up here in a moment, we'll be talking to him. He's really our man on the ground. He's been right outside of this jail all morning long, out in the field all week long, just since the news of the indictment first came down. Doug's been out there with us. I want to take you out to Doug right now, who you can see. Doug, thanks for joining us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I really wanted to bring you on because you have the on-the-ground perspective of all of this. You've been up close. You've been seeing some of all of this unfold. Standing outside this jail today, I understand there's heightened security, a lot of measures being taken. What is the energy out there?
Is the public entrance to the jail, which you can probably see right over my shoulder. That is blocked off with police cars. If you go across the complex to Jefferson Street, which is the actual intake entrance for the jail, there are crews set up all up and down that street as well. So it is a bit chaotic. There's a lot of people here, a lot of reporters, a lot of photographers. And in fact, today it was the first day where we saw some supporters and some opponents of former President Trump and some of these other 18 individuals charged in this case come out here to kind of see what the deal was, what was going on, and to partake in some of the activity as well. But again, this is largely a reporter and a photographer presence here, media presence along Rice Street as we await the arrival of Rudy Giuliani, the former attorney for former President Donald Trump, and also the former attorney, the former mayor of New York, who once held the moniker America's Mayor. And so this is quite a turn of events for him. And in fact, what is ironic about him being here today is the fact that he's facing over a dozen charges in a racketeering case, a RICO indictment. And that is exactly what he made himself famous for as a prosecutor in New York City, was prosecuting organized crime, mafia cases against RICO-influenced organizations. And so a bit of irony here for Rudy Giuliani to be showing up to Fulton County to be booked, processed, have his mugshot taken, just like we've seen with about a dozen other of these defendants in this case do over the last couple of days. The way it's kind of worked is, and we've spent, as you mentioned, a lot of time outside of the Fulton County Courthouse as well, but we've seen a lot of these teams' attorneys go in and negotiate bond agreements and surrender agreements for them to come here to the jail to be booked and processed in a speedy manner. And in fact, maybe not an hour or two ago, our crews over there at the Fulton County Courthouse actually saw Giuliani's attorney team go into the courthouse, again, presumably to negotiate some sort of bond agreement or some sort of surrender deal with the district attorney's team who is prosecuting this case. And so we do expect after that takes place that he will be here either at this entrance on Rice Street or over at the intake entrance on Jefferson Street to go through this process that, again, we've seen a good handful of these defendants do over the last couple of days. Now, again, the big news, and what I think everybody is waiting on, and why it could be a very tense situation between today and tomorrow, is former President Donald Trump himself to show up here to surrender to authorities, and just like the others who have done so over the last couple of days, get booked, get processed, have their mugshots taken, and perhaps even enter a plea of some sort. We know that that is something that some of these defendants have done. Of course, they have the right to waive their preliminary hearing, their first appearance before a judge, and simply enter a plea at some time during this process. And so we don't know what Giuliani will do once he actually gets here as far as entering a plea or what his bond could be. As I understand it, that is exactly what his attorneys are discussing with the DA's team at the Fulton County Courthouse right now. And so it's really just a waiting game. We've seen a lot of cars come in and out of the jail complex. They're still conducting business. No media is allowed back in that parking lot in front of the jail. We're kind of relegated to the other side of the street here just to watch cars come and go. But business is business and is ongoing here at the jail. And so it'll really just be kind of a guessing game as to when he shows up here. But I can tell you that we do have crews out at the courthouse, and we have eyes watching the movements of these attorneys. And so we should be able to let you know pretty shortly, I would hope, when he might be able to actually be here at the jail, Maria.
And we are starting to see some YouTube comments coming in. I want to thank everyone for their patience as we had some initial audio issues there, but we were able to hear you for the most part. some people saying hashtag where's Rudy? That's the big question for everyone right now. Where's Rudy? He's a big name up there of the 19 indicted, and really the beginning of what's going to be something that the nation is watching. I mean, the surrender of former President Donald Trump in Fulton County, that's anticipated tomorrow. He's already said he's planning on surrendering tomorrow. With the anticipated arrival of Rudy Giuliani and then former President Donald Trump, are we going to see some sort of difference in that booking arrest process, or is it in line with what the sheriff said? Is that anticipated to be the same? Have you learned anything from talking with them?
You know, I think it'll be very similar for all these defendants, and we can just harken back to what Fulton County Sheriff Pat Labat said a couple weeks ago when we asked him, what will this process be like? Will there be any special treatment given? And he essentially said, no, not at all. We just view these as defendants, as part of the Fulton County justice system, and they will come in, they will be fingerprinted, they will go through the very same intake processes as any other defendant. Now, the difference, if anything, for these 19 defendants versus anyone else facing a crime here in Fulton County is that element of being able to negotiate their bond amounts and their surrender agreements beforehand with the district attorney's office. And that's simply by nature of the fact that this is a high-profile case. These are some high-profile defendants. A lot of people know Rudy Giuliani, obviously former President Donald Trump, former GOP chair David Schaefer, Sidney Powell, big names who have been part of this election conversation for the last couple of years. And so beyond that, though, there really won't be much of a difference in terms of the actual process. Like we said, they're going to go in there. Sheriff Labat said during the press conference a couple weeks ago when we asked that they absolutely will have their mugshots taken. That is something that we haven't seen out of the former president's cases in New York. It's not something we saw in Miami. It's not something we will see in D.C. So this will be the only mugshot, presumably, of the former president and these 18 others that will come out of any cases that they are involved in. But no, for the most part, they are going to be treated the same as any other defendant. And just to answer everyone's questions from the comments there that you just read, we know that Rudy Giuliani is on the ground here in Atlanta. I can't tell you exactly where he is right now. I would assume probably pretty close to his lawyers, who we know are at the Fulton County Courthouse. But we did have video of him leaving New York this morning. We did have video of him on the ground and off the plane at the Cat Peachtree Airport, not too far away from here, a couple hours ago. And so we know he is here. We know his attorneys are doing some work with the DA's team right now. Again, it could be a bond amount. It could be some sort of surrender agreement. But we can pretty much expect him to be here at some point throughout sometime this afternoon.
And Doug, you know, we appreciate having you provide us this insight. I know this is something that you've been following. We've had team coverage on this for more than a week now. I gotta ask, you know, this is such an unprecedented, arguably a historical moment. Not arguably, it is a historical moment. You having your political background, being a journalist here in Atlanta and Fulton County, how is covering this for you, for so many of you that are out there, you know, just witnessing this firsthand and then reporting back to us, bringing us into this front row seats to a former president being indicted on criminal charges like these?
Right. Well, I can tell you for one that it's hot, just to lay the land for you here. I mean, everyone is outside. Nobody is waiting in their cars because, again, this is the type of thing where you don't want to skip a beat and miss something. It happens so quickly, and we have such little information before these things take place, such as attorneys going to the courthouse and coming here to the Fulton County Jail to be booked. So everyone is very much on edge. But as you mentioned, not overlooking at all the historical nature of this, it is so rare and really without any precedent at all for this type of thing to happen, for some of these names, especially former President Donald Trump, to come and, I mean, my goodness, have a mugshot taken of somebody who served in the Oval Office. I think nobody here that is going over their heads, nobody here is taking for granted the historical nature of what is happening right here in Fulton County and the city of Atlanta. Certainly, it's been, searching for the right word, it has been a whirlwind to try and keep up with all of the developments. We know that every single day, almost by the hour, something new is happening, and so people are glued to their phones, they're glued to their laptops, and everyone is talking here, exchanging information, just trying to make heads and tails of what is going on hour by hour, and in very much some cases minute by minute.
Doug Reardon, our political reporter outside of Fulton County Jail, where we're anticipating the surrender of Rudy Giuliani. Thank you so much. And of course, we'll check in with you on our afternoon and evening newscast starting at 3 o'clock. Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Maria.